I know. We're
What's it gonna
doing it
say?
right now, Eric. This is the podcast. This is part of it. We're on the air.
Okay, well, let me pause first so I can have a clean in. Ready?
All right, a clean in.
Okay. Music.
Do you have a clean in now? We can start the
Well,
podcast.
no, because you just talked. Let me pause. Okay. Hello, fellow baseball nuts. See, it just doesn't sound right coming from me. Right?
Is this the time I'm allowed to talk now?
Yeah.
Eric has been trying to start the podcast, but he says he needs a clean in order to start the podcast. And I
Who
keep
does the
talking
editing?
because that's what I do.
You? No, I do the editing. Okay, now listen. Welcome to David and Eric Go Rogue or Off Piste.
What about Go Vogue?
Now
David
listen.
and Eric Go Vogue.
Before any of you assume that we've actually become a splitter group, like in Monty Python, Splitters. Okay, so we are uncensored, unfiltered, on Jonny and Josh at the moment, but we've gone off piste. We've gone rogue, only because it's not easy doing a podcast, folks. Because trying to get
not in 4 different time zones.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we're in 4 different time zones, 4 different countries, and getting everyone on board for this podcast is not easy. And we haven't done a podcast. Can you believe it? The anniversary 2 months ago was the last time we did a podcast.
Wow. Yeah. And I haven't been on this year, have I? Is this the first time I've been on?
You have, and you've had cameos with those recording things.
Oh,
right?
okay. Oh, wait. Let me tell you something, by the way, about Jonny.
Okay, go on.
Jonny is in New York. He says he's in New York State. Do I get a phone call? No.
Is he?
Do I get an email? Hey, David, I'm in Westchester, which, by the way, is like 45 minutes from here, an hour from here. Do I get a? Oh, John, why don't you come up to the club where I'm doing this thing and we'll have a drink? Nothing.
Okay, well, this is why we've gone rogue now. Okay, so basically, it's not easy doing a podcast, but we figure we owe it to you in some capacity to do a show just to bridge, because we haven't been unavailable. I've been traveling like a maniac for both Major League Baseball, ironically, or coincidentally, my Alanis Morissette, I don't know.
I think it's a coincidence.
And ice hockey, not a coincidence, just more ironic.
No, that's just work.
And so I've been busy on weekends, and Josh Chetwynd is busy doing curling. He's always curling in some tournament in the United States of America. Jonny, of course, is also hard to nail down because he's either in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, doing some sort of MC
or 45
job,
minutes from my house.
45 minutes
not
from
calling
you,
me.
right? Okay, so yeah, so trying to do a baseball podcast from the United Kingdom and for the United Kingdom as well, and trying to get us idiots, all 4 of us or 3 of us. So we've gone rogue for 1 episode only. It's a spin-off, one-off. Or a one-off spin-off. It's not. This is not going to be a regular thing.
This could become a regular thing if we like it.
No, it won't.
You promised me we don't always have to talk about baseball, though. We can just talk about whatever. You promised.
We can, but let's just keep it baseball for now because we're on the platform. Nat Coombs, who's our esteemed colleague,
he's our boss.
He's in charge of his podcast umbrella, his empire of podcasts, and we owe it to him as well to use this platform and make an episode because it's been 2 months. And let's face it, this weekend I'm working. You're busy. Josh is curling again. He's in semifinals or something. Jonny's in New York apparently, and so here's an episode for you all just to keep you abreast. Tee giggity. And just about what's happening with our show and Major League Baseball and other stuff. Okay. There'll be no trivia question. There'll be no.
Why not?
Because I haven't prepared one, and it's a Jonny and Josh thing, and it's funnier when Jonny gets it wrong.
Oh, I see. Jonny and Josh have the trivia exclusivity. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So, look, I tip my hat to people like Bat Flips and Nerds, who somehow, I met were nice guys, by the way.
We once had a little feud with them. Remember that?
It was a faux feud. Okay,
because I was very upset.
It was funny. It was banter. It was bants.
I think it was on Twitter. We had a Twitter fight.
And but they're nice guys. Met them at the London Stadium, and the fact that there are other baseball podcasts you came, I think, is just fantastic because it shows up there's enough interest in baseball in the UK that there's enough podcasts to go around. Even what they're called, Birds with Balls, have a good best name in baseball podcast.
Birds with balls.
Yeah, they talk about women's baseball as well as Major League Baseball as well.
It's very risque. Sports.
But it got your attention. See,
it did.
Good. So we're going to do unscripted, unfiltered, uncensored. I didn't really prepare anything. I just said, David.
All right. So what do we do if it's unscripted? What are we doing first?
Okay, but I did do bullet points. It is just it's not scripted, it's bullet points. I just said, okay,
bullet pointed. Okay.
Here's some bullet points. Okay, so and bullet point number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your New York Mets. Okay.
Yeah. And what about them?
I'm not going to discuss how terrible they were this year because they were terrible in 1962. Now the Oakland A's are terrible this year, and they've just missed out on being the worst team in baseball. In 1962, your New York Mets were 40-120.
Yes.
Now it was
so I guess they missed a couple of games, right?
They missed 2 games because of rain delays, which at the end of the season they realized they didn't have to make up because they had no.
You mean there was nothing to play for? You mean the original 62 Mets didn't have there was no playoff implications?
And the opponents that they had had no. It wouldn't have mattered. Those make-up rain delay games. So they only played 160 games. Mm-hmm. They were 40-120, still a record for most losses in a season modern era.
Yeah.
Now
I was really worried about that. I know
that. I know you discussed this. Was that you were worried that because you're despite that being a blemish for New York Mets fans, you actually like holding on to that record.
That's our record. If you're going to be a loser, you want to be the best loser and the biggest loser possible. I mean, that's the kind of philosophy I have in life, generally speaking, for myself. That's how I do it. If I'm going to suck, I want to really suck. I don't want to be in the middle. I want to be the worst possible version of my own self. And that's what the Mets were. They were 40-120. You know what I heard the other day? This is really geeky, but it was on the Mets broadcast. In the entire Mets history, which began in 1962, as we're talking about, on only 3 occasions, has an outfielder had 2 assists in one game. And it happened the other night. And it happened, I believe, sometime in the 1980s. And did you know the other time is in the very first game in Mets history in 1962 against St. Louis? Gus Bell threw out 2 runners in the outfield. Yeah, I heard that. But yeah, going back to the point, also Kansas City was also flirting a little bit with this record. Not quite on the level of Oakland, but they're pretty bad also.
At the time of recording,
this is our record. Nobody can have this record. This belongs to us.
Now, at the time of recording, the Oakland A's are 46-107.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another 2 weeks to go in this. October 1st, a week Sunday, is the last game of the season. So there's a chance that they could still get 120 losses.
They're not. No one touches us.
No, they can't because
it's over. No, they can't.
It's over.
It's us. It belongs to us.
Did you know
your math is off?
That's true because it's not a 166 game schedule. I retract that.
Math has never been your strong point. That's okay.
Okay, now
it's not my strong point either.
So now here's the thing: it's that which teams have gotten closest to.
Well, there was that Tigers team, right? In
2003,
03 Tigers. Yeah,
they were
116.
They were 1 loss away. They were 119 losses, so they were 1 loss away from. They played the whole 162, but they were 1 loss away from tying most losses in the season.
And who was that catcher that they had that everybody liked?
They had guess who their catcher was? AJ Hinch.
No, but there was another guy. Who was the big? Maybe he wasn't a catcher. Who was the big? Not the star, because there's no stars.
Well, the star on that team was Dimitri Young. So
Dimitri Young. Okay, I'm thinking about somebody else.
And Alan.
But yeah, that team was bad. And what was remarkable about that team?
3 years later,
was that 3 years later they're in the World Series, and we were there.
We were there. Now the next worst team to almost eclipse those 03 Tigers and those 62 Mets was the 2018 Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, wow.
So, and look at them now.
Look at them now. Boy, are they great, huh? They're a great story.
I hope they make it to the World Series, just to add to, like, it took the Mets 7 years to get to the World Series after that dreadful inaugural 62 season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So,
and who beat them? Who beat them in fastest to win a World Series after expansion?
Well, that will be the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Very good. See, I can ask you a trivia question. I don't need to plan it. But you have to make some big deal about asking me a trivia question.
Because then, it's I have to give them multiple choice. I have to think.
Yeah, I know.
It has to be clever.
It's a whole thing. Yeah,
this is just one of those, if you know it or you don't, kind of
things.
So yeah, okay. So hey, we could talk about your New York Mets 2023, but I don't think you want to.
Well, hang on. Can we just finish on the A's? There has to be an asterisk on the A's as well, because Fisher, who owns the A's, has imploded that team on purpose so he could move, so he could move them. So even if they did it, yes, of course.
The Expos.
Yeah, well, totally. There's a lot of parallels between the Expos situation and the A's situation, I would say, for sure. But yeah, I mean, we don't really do asterisks in baseball, but if for some reason, if somehow the A's were able to lose more games than the 62 Mets, I would have definitely called that out. All right, you want to talk about the 2023 Mets now? What do you want to talk about?
What do you mean you don't do asterisks in baseball? We're talking about, like, Roger
we don't
Maris.
do everybody wants an asterisk, but nobody's prepared to actually do it. Nobody will do it. All you just want to talk about it. The
Barry
first
Bonds
asterisk was, of course, yeah, they say an asterisk, but there's no. Meanwhile, you look at the record book or the record pixels. Since we don't have record, if you look at the record pixels, you won't find an asterisk next to Barry Bonds. You won't find an asterisk next to Roger Maris. And that's just how baseball goes. An asterisk is something that we talk about, that some people fight for or complain about, and never actually happens.
All right.
Even the Astros, who won the World Series by cheating. There's another team that could have arguably had an asterisk.
I know. And I've said it before. It ain't cheating unless you get caught. It's like, there's nothing wrong with it.
And they got
masturbation.
Wow, is this what happened to the? Okay, so we're not.
It's not a family show anymore. It's uncensored, unfiltered. David and Erik.
Meanwhile, Erik is treating his body like it's an amusement park.
Okay, now there's no waffle. There's a waffle-free zone. Well, I'd like it to be a waffle-free zone. Your 23 Mets, briefly, what went wrong?
They had a terrible June. They were fine. They started out in April. Everything was fine. They went out west. They went 7-3. And everything fell up. They were okay in May, and everything fell apart in June. The pitching broke down. Scherzer sucked. Verlander took a month to get healthy, and then he took another month to get good. And by that time, it was kind of too late, and they looked old, tired. Some people think it's the World Baseball Classic because they had a lot of older players on their team, and not most of their, but a good portion of their team was at the WBC, where they didn't have the new rules, so they didn't have the time in spring training to adjust. But
Buck Showalter stays or for 24 or gone? Stay?
I say he stays because I like Buck. He knows shitloads about baseball. I think he's a good manager. He's a foot off the pedal manager these days. He wasn't always like that. He won 100. Look, he won 100 games last year, and then they fell apart and fell out of first place at the last possible minute. And then they went and lost 2 out of 3 to San Diego, and that was the season. This year, they got old in a hurry. There were new rules. They lost their closer. They put all their stock in 2 40-year-old pitchers, and they sucked or weren't good enough or weren't as advertised. And now they've basically paid their salaries to buy young prospects, therefore skipping the rebuilding queue that like a team like the Orioles would have to do, like lose for 5 years to get those picks. Mets don't need the picks. They just spend $30 million or $70 million for 3 or 4 good prospects. So that's fine. And we'll see what happens next year.
Moving on. The Baltimore Orioles, speaking of.
Yeah.
Here's a record I do not like because this is not a family show and uncensored. I can still say fucking interleague.
Why don't you like the interleague?
I've always hated interleague. You know that.
Well, right now there's basically no leagues because everybody's playing each other.
There's no NL-AL separation. I'm not going to get into my interleague rant again. But listen.
Just so we're clear, the Diamondbacks, who are in the thick of the playoff race, finished their season with 3 straight American League opponents.
Which is another thing that's terrible. That like the last month of the season, there just should be no interleague games. It should be divisional or at least within your league.
Well, first, the math says you always have to have at least one.
Now here's one thing here's a little bit of stat for you. The Baltimore Orioles are the first team in Major League Baseball history to have defeated all 29 teams in one season. To have gotten
I heard that.
So they've gotten at least a win against all 29 teams in one season. Yeah. That's the way that the Major League Baseball decided to do the schedule this year, that everyone plays everybody.
Yeah, it's balanced, more balanced. It's not completely balanced, but it's more balanced.
It's completely imbalanced, in my opinion.
You don't like it.
I say, and I'll say it again.
You're an old, middle-aged, grumpy fuck, so you don't like it.
Okay, I'll say again. Okay, sure. Oh, interleague. Oh, it's so fun when the Mets and the Yankees play, when the Dodgers and Angels play, when the Cubs and White Sox play. Now listen. Okay, do that for the month of June. Have 1 month of interleague games only, then back to regularly scheduled programming, NL, AL separation, end of story.
Yeah, I think those old guys in Pittsburgh that make the schedule, I think they still do it.
Well, it's a married couple. It's a married couple, isn't it?
That married. I think that they would have something to say about that. They would say, well, you make the schedule then, and then they would just throw it in your face and walk out of the room.
I mean, I'd happily do the schedule and get rid of interleague.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You think you could pull that off? I'd like to see that.
It'll take some time.
That. No way.
Yeah, and then not have like games in Minnesota in like early April.
You're too busy eating meat pies to make a schedule. Or reviewing meat pies.
That attack of my
When was the last meat pie you reviewed?
Reviewed. It's been a while since I did a pie report. Correct. Actually, fun. I was staying on the topic of food. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me recently, as you do all these, pie reviews and hot dog reviews in Major League stadiums, pie reviews, football stadiums, soccer, football. Mm-hmm. They said, "What's the best pizza you ever had at a baseball stadium?" So, as a pizza at a stadium. Now, I can't remember if in Montreal they sold pizzas, and Detroit they sold.
Yes,
pizzas.
they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Now, I don't think a pizza should be sold or bought. I guess it could. It's an easy thing to eat, but I don't know. Your opinion on pizza at a ballpark?
It had. Well, look, things have changed since we were kids. I do remember that Montreal sold pizza, but kind of like shitty ballpark pizza. But now, if you get pizza at like a place like in Queens or at a new ballpark, it's going to be like fancy pizza. It's not going to be like
it's going to be sourdough with like truffle.
Garbage. It's going to be fancy.
Yeah.
But if they're going to, it's not just pizza. They have sushi. They have tacos. I mean, the options are never ending now. So your question should be, should we cap it at hot dogs and popcorn and whatever else?
I know. Well, actually, of all the things I've eaten at ballparks, one thing that was bizarre but tasty was at Baltimore, Camden Yards.
Food power.
That was the pit beef was very good.
The pit beef. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was the best sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Seriously? Really?
Serious. Well, in the top 5. The bulk power.
I was just going to ask you, what's the best thing you ever ate at a ballpark? Is that the answer?
And that isn't the top 2. I don't know. I'll have to figure out what top 1 is. Now listen.
Okay.
One thing they did sell, which is indigenous to the Baltimore area, were crab cakes. Now
they didn't sell it, or they
did. And I had a crab cake, and it's good, and you feel like whatever in Baltimore, but it's a hard thing to eat at a ballpark. It's crab cakes, and you dip the tartar sauce.
Yeah. Would you put a crab cake on a bun Or is that?
Yeah, they didn't give to you in a bun. They give to you.
Is that like a thing in Baltimore? If you say that, they're like, you suck, and we don't do that. One of those things. Like putting butter on a bagel in Montreal, which you yelled at me about once.
No, I never. I think buttered bagels are fine. Best bagels in the world.
They are. I remember getting some kind of admonishing from somebody about putting butter on a Montreal bagel.
That's fine. I got.
I don't remember who it was.
Speaking of pizza, by the way,
well, ketchup on a hot dog. People go crazy. Ketchup on a hot dog.
I think it's essential. Everything on a hot dog: relish, mustard, ketchup, and onions, and sauerkraut. End of story. Yeah. Moving on. Pizza, by the way, best pizza in the world. The best pizza. I don't think you took me in New York to the best pizza I've ever had in my life, and rest in peace, Dom DeMarco at DeFara's Pizza.
Yeah, he's dead.
On J Street in Brooklyn.
Not J Street.
Wasn't what street was on?
Avenue J.
It's all right. Beg your pardon.
J Street is in downtown Brooklyn. Avenue J is in Midwood.
That's right.
Brooklyn.
That's right. I got my Brooklyn.
There's a huge difference in about
wrong. Yeah, so
about 7 miles away.
DeFara's Pizza is one of the best pizzas I've ever had in my life. Dave and I went there.
I wonder what it's like now that the old man is gone.
And Dom DeMarco.
I currently, where I'm sitting right now, I'm about 25 minutes from there. I wonder if I would be waiting online still.
Is it worth the wait? When Dom DeMarco was the old man who was doing the pizza, I've got a great picture of Dom DeMarco making pizza. It's a picture within a picture.
Hunched over.
Yeah.
With his basil.
But now we're going off topic again. But yeah, if you want to explain to the viewers exactly what was so good about the pizza.
I never really figured that out, but like he just had a methodical way. He was, by the time we saw him, he was in his 80s and he was hunched over and he would methodically go between his stations. He'd have his dough and then he would sprinkle his cheese and then he would get his basil and drop it in. There's some things you can say about why a pizza is great. Oh, they have like a really hot oven, or they're bringing in the flour from Naples, or, there's always a reason. But with DeMarco and DeFara, you never really knew, because it's just a kind of corner pizza spot. They make kind of regular pizza, not like special fancy pizza. They make but it was always something about it that made it stand out.
Yeah, it was.
The key to going to that place was always eating before you went, because you'd be waiting for 45 minutes to an hour to get the pie. So you can't be in that place and be hungry, because you'll freak out.
Yeah.
So you have to eat a meal so that you're settled and you're not jittery like, a heroin addict waiting for pizza.
I gotta make a pilgrimage. Well, next time I come visit you, obviously.
Oh, we'll take care of you. We'll take you everywhere.
Spumoni pizza's the one. Yeah, Spumoni, if you want to explain to the viewers about what pizza is as well. There's a difference.
About what?
There's a difference between Chicago style, New York style, and not many people know this. Montreal style pizza. Do that? Montreal style pizza.
What's Montreal style pizza?
There's
Detroit also, right? Detroit.
Well, so let me break it down for you. It's Chicago pizza. Obviously, is a deep. It's like it's ridiculous. It's like
that's not pizza. That's
deep dish
construction material. That's not pizza.
It's too.
You can build shit with that.
One slices, you're done.
If you were like in trouble and you needed a house, I need to build a house. I have 15 minutes. I don't have any bricks. What do? Let's just go to Chicago and order like 7,000 pizzas, and then you can build a house.
New York style pizza is what you call
Slice.
It?
Slice, crispy.
Is the ingredients go on top? Sorry, the cheese goes on top. Then you put the ingredients on top of the cheese. Montreal, sure. You put the ingredients on the sauce, and then the cheese on top of the ingredients. Not many people know.
I don't like that. You don't know what's in there. I don't need any mystery to my pizza. I want to know what's in there. Before we're canceled, what's our last? What else do we have? Imagine we were big enough to be canceled. That would be great. I would love to get this podcast big enough so that we could actually be canceled.
No, the thing is, I can never gauge how many viewers, listeners. Obviously, by the way, click on YouTube, subscribe, like, Twitter, and that's the thing. I can't gauge this podcast. Apparently we're always number 2 on the podcast chart in the UK for baseball podcasts, underneath Buster Olney. Once we made it number 1.
Mm-hmm. Why is Buster Olney? Who wants to listen to Buster Olney?
He's a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy, but like whatever,
I don't know. Next topic I want to talk to you about. So currently, right now, it's the Rugby World Cup. I'm sure every channel in the United States is tuned in.
Oh, we're all over it. Believe me.
Canada didn't qualify, so there's not much coverage of it in Canada either. And to be honest, it's one of those things. I guess I'm not in the rugby fraternity and brotherhood. That it's only been like a blip in a radar. You sort of walk into a pub and go, "Oh yeah, Rugby World Cup."
Where over there? It's not big over there. It's because it's just for posh people and Johnny. That's why. Nobody cares about rugby. How many people care about rugby?
Well, that's
5 people, 10 people.
Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to bash it because I think it's important that the rugby does have a World Cup. However, one thing I do know from the few games I've tuned into by accident, there have been blowouts in these group stages.
Yeah, nobody cares.
But here's my question to you is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I see it in hockey as well, international hockey, when I do the world, championships for the AAHF. You'll see Canada beat Great Britain, you'll thrash them. Then you see Hungary, who's not a hockey nation, losing like 11-0.
Right. That's exciting.
And you'll see scores in rugby like 58-0.
Yeah, that sucks.
Now, World Baseball Classic, not so much, is there? I mean, I want to say that there's not a parity, but do we see blowouts, embarrassing blowouts that shouldn't be in baseball?
No, there's some blowouts in the World Baseball Classic, but because there's so many Americans scattered around on all these teams with the easy ability to play on countries other than your own based on family heritage versus holding a passport, that allows North American talent to be distributed throughout the world probably a little bit easier in baseball than it is in rugby. So you can't, if your great grandma was British, you can't go play for Japan. I don't think. I'm assuming that. I think that it's fair to say that World Baseball Classic rules regarding which team you must play for are on the loose side as far as international competition goes. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, and for you British baseball fans out there, we won't talk about that Canada game in the group stage. Speaking of blowouts,
I just want to say rugby. I don't give a shit about rugby, but it's a great game. I just don't give a shit about it. Like, it's a good sport, but I don't care.
And Johnny, it's his passion. If Johnny,
he's got this thing about rugby, and it's fair game. It's everybody follows the rules. It's like this British thing with Johnny. He loves rugby.
But then you can say that about South Africa. You can say that about New Zealand. You can say that about Australia. It's part of their social fabric.
No, but like I would say, in Australia and in South Africa, rugby is the sport.
Yes.
Right. That's their main sport. Over here in the UK, it's like a niche sport for posh people. And Johnny, as I said before, who is not posh, but can like hang out in like posh like zones.
He can masquerade and
camouflage. He can hang around. This is the amazing thing about Johnny, that it's hard to go, to not be posh and to hang around in posh circuits in the UK because of all these fucking hang-ups everybody has about class over there. But Johnny pulls it off. Johnny hangs out with all these big time folks at these big events and gets away with it.
Speaking of Johnny,
to his credit, by the way,
Speaking of Johnny, I haven't tuned into his Radio North Bath, whatever it is.
Have you not?
I keep on forgetting. I think it's every Tuesday at 2:00. He does the North Bath thing or Radio North, whatever. Bath.
I sent in a request once and I didn't get my song played. So that's it. You only get one chance with me.
Yes, and then so anyways, yeah, Rugby World Cup. Obviously, we'll get more viewers than the World Baseball Classic, unless you live in Japan or Cuba
or Korea or Taiwan.
That's true, exactly. So it's all relative. So yeah, mail call.
These are colonial games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Baseball is a colonial game. Rugby is a colonial game.
Okay. Now, Canada, who's I guess from the colonies and the Commonwealth. Amazingly, we suck at rugby. We suck at cricket. We suck at football, soccer. So we adopted baseball, ice hockey. Well, ice hockey, of course. And we have our own CFL. Oddball Canadian,
which is good.
So
I love.
But it is interesting how Canada is sort of like trying to find its identity in sports. It's how a Brit has more an affinity with a Kiwi 10,000 miles away than a Canadian, 3,000 miles away. And
Canadians are just like what? Hockey, curling, hockey, curling.
Yes.
Or is there something else there?
No, and then anytime the Blue Jays do well, and baseball, right?
What about cross-country skiing? Or something like that? Downhill, anything? No?
Only once every 4 years.
I mean, you got to be good at winter sports. I mean, if you're not good at winter sports, what are you doing?
Was it 2010 Winter Olympics slogan in Vancouver? Own the podium. And we did indeed.
You only do that when it's in Canada. Otherwise, you don't own anything.
I was moving on. By the way,
did that even happen?
By the way,
nobody remembers that.
I was in Geneva, by the way, recently doing hockey.
Yeah.
For the Champions Hockey League. And I went. I did a 1 hour train ride, or less than that, 37 minutes to be exact, train ride to Lausanne, and went to the Olympic Museum.
Oh, how was that?
It was amazing. Every single torch that was used to light the Olympic torch was on display from 1890. Yes, from even a 36.
Who's a worse organization, FIFA or the IOC? Who's scummier?
It's just ironic that, or is it coincidental?
Or UEFA? You want to throw UEFA in there?
Well, it's just the fact that they're both in Switzerland. All right, so moving on, okay, because maybe want to explain to our viewers whenever my accidental eBay purchases. Now here's I'll tell you what, you don't explain. I'll explain it.
You explain it.
I'm obviously
because I'm fed up with it. So you explain.
Much of the chagrin of David, and now the thing is, I've been accused of being a hoarder of baseball books.
Now, hang on, you're not doing a good job at this. So, what people know about New York City is that space comes at a premium. Okay, fine. We're not overloaded with space. So, despite knowing this, Erik likes to go on eBay and order tons of crap, and because he's too cheap to send the packages to the United Kingdom, or because of some kind of tax dodge or whatever he's doing, he sends all this crap to my house in Brooklyn. So for years, I had a place in my home reserved for Erik crap. Okay. And then I go over, he likes memorabilia. He's a collector, right? So he likes memorabilia. He wants, 25-year-old baseball digests. He wants obscure baseball cards, obscure books. And I don't know what's going to happen when he dies or where this shit's going to go. His kids are going to kill him, but they're going to be like, what do I do with all this crap? So meanwhile, I had a stack of Erik crap, and I went over to the UK in the spring, and I was lucky enough. I was only going for a few days, so I had some room for the stack of Erik crap. So I transported. I was his mule, his collector mule. I transported his stack of Erik crap of 40-year-old baseball digests and brought it with me and I handed it off to him. And I thought, okay, clean break. I'm done. My wife won't kill me anymore when I get another Erik Janssen package. I'm done with this. Next thing you know, months later, a few months go by. That's it. A few weeks maybe. I get more envelopes. I now have 3 more envelopes. This one says eBay on it. This one comes from Mora, Minnesota. Do you know where Mora, Minnesota is? No. That's where people have crap stored, apparently. Here's one from Liverpool, New York. How about that? Liverpool, New York. Did you know there was a Liverpool in New York?
I did not. Now I do. See,
here's one from Indianapolis, easily one of the weirdest cities I've ever been into in my entire life. So I don't know what's in these envelopes.
Okay.
I do. I know there's crap in these envelopes.
Okay. No, here's the thing. Now I'll explain my side of the story. Now, yes, when you buy something off eBay, by accident sometimes, might I add.
By accident. Right.
I'll explain that in a second. Yeah, then you realize, oh no, I've won the bid, and now the shipping will cost me £28, and
for the £1 magazine,
and there'll be a customs charge of like an extra £11.30 or something. Or I can just send it to David's address in Brooklyn, and I know it is unfair on David. I'll and his family, but anyways.
He gets off on it. You get off on it. You think it's funny.
I guess I have a problem with eBay. Now here's the thing.
You think it's funny.
When you scrolling through eBay and you see something like, ooh, I haven't seen that in a while. Oh my god, I used to own that when I was a kid. And then you see like, it'll be like $30 and you go, or best offer, and you put down for the hell of it. Okay, $1 best offer. Next day you wake up and you go, congratulations, you won it. Oh my god, I won it.
Wow,
that's an accident. Okay, that's happened to me many times. Hence why
that's not an accident, by the way. That's by design. There are no accidents.
You think like, okay, once I get outbid, I'll just say, okay, whatever. But I never get outbid, so I accidentally buy, get these historical artifacts, magazines, books, baseball related. And then I use David's address as a dumping ground, unfortunately for David. But what I'm going to do now is, yes, I did order more stuff via your address to save myself customs charge, delivery charge.
This is, I hope that Inland Revenue or whoever does this shit over in the UK isn't listening.
I will now ask you to open up the envelopes, if you may.
Oh, so the envelope, please? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
The envelope, please.
Pick a random one, and I'll explain. And by the way, one of them is actually for you. It's a present for you.
Oh, great!
Just so you can have clutter in your own home.
This one says, "Please don't bend."
And the thing is, it's been so long, I can't remember what I bought.
You don't even know what this is.
I forget. I mean, it's these accidental purchases on eBay.
Oh, here's something we have to have.
What is it? Oh, yes.
This is an episode 5.
No, issue 5.
It's not really episode 5. It's episode 5 of the Value series, which is different than the 5th ever Spider-Man, by the way. Okay. This looks like an exposed Spider. You can see it for people who are watching.
If you'll explain to viewers
Spider-Man episode.
Yeah, so what's it say on the cover? The Amazing Spider-Man and the Montreal Expos help him fight crime. How's that?
And how much did this cost?
That was an accidental purchase as well. I can't remember now, but there's a receipt in the envelope. But come on, how cool is that? That's pretty cool. A Spider-Man comic.
It's very cool. I could look at it and say I saw it and then throw it out and be absolutely fine.
No, don't throw it out.
But
that cost me $1.
No, how could you throw anything out? Why would you? There's no receipt in here. I don't know how much this cost.
Okay, well, I'll have to look back, but yeah, I think that's an accidental purchase. I think it was on sale for like $18 or nearest offer, and I put in $1 offer, and I won it. And then
all right, you want to go to the second one now?
Second one, please, if you will be so kind, open the second envelope. And like I said, one of these is for you.
Oh wow, maybe it'll be this one. This is another one that says, "Please don't bend," because there's something so important in here that you can't live without.
The tension is killing me.
Minimalism is going around. Maybe instead of catching COVID, you should try to catch minimalism.
All right, let's see. I'll buy some books about that.
Yeah.
What's that?
All right, this looks like it's a fucking Baseball Digest. What a surprise! I've seen this
and
before.
who's on the cover?
On the cover of this Baseball Digest is Sid Fernandez, the Mets' unsung hero. It is dated February 1987.
Exactly. So this would have been the year after your 86 World Series win. And that's for you. Unless you actually don't want it, I'll take it off your hands.
We'll see during my next transport. That'll be a transport time decision.
Okay, now here's where we take stock. And I want to talk about Baseball Digest in particular. Because last time you came over to the UK and delivered, because this is on the Baseball Digest you brought over. Now, when I was a kid, this was a great digest. It came out monthly, right? People don't buy magazines anymore. They don't read magazines. They just scroll on their phones, look up the box scores on their laptops. They don't actually get into the nitty gritty of what else is there in baseball.
The nitty gritty of paper, right?
But there's there's a crossword puzzle in here.
Is that Pete Rose? Who is that?
There's also a
is that Gary Carter or Pete Rose? Who's on the cover?
That's Gary Carter. Yeah,
okay.
There's also within Baseball Digest, a must for all baseball fans when you were a kid. There's also a segment called "So You Think You Know Baseball."
Oh, okay.
Right, where there'll be like a story about like, okay, so the first baseman runs to second, the fielder.
Oh, it's a situation.
The situation, and if you were the umpire, what would you do? Or what is the correct call? And then you have to figure it out and by yourself. Then you go to see answer on page 43, whatever. Then, so yeah,
if I was the umpire, I would not buy it. And
so now one thing that maybe the reason why I have a problem with hoarding and collecting is my mom always threw out my crap, right? And that's why I was able to find a Mark Fidrich 1977 Baseball Digest, one of the first ones I ever bought when I was a kid. Yes, I'm showing my age.
That's from your house.
No, you brought this over for me. I bought this because my mom threw it out. I saw it on eBay. I thought, okay, just to spite my mom for throwing all my Mad magazines and Baseball Digests, I'm going to get that one because Mark Fidrich was a hero of mine when I was in 1977. What converted me to being a Tigers fan when we had to move from Montreal to Southern Ontario near Mississauga, and we got Tigers games, and I loved the Tigers, and I loved Mark Fidrich, and Rusty Staub was the Tigers at the time. But I digress.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So Baseball Digest, I you got me this one as well, Joe Torre.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah. So Baseball Digest started in 1942. It's still kicking around now as a magazine form, as a magazine format. It only comes out 6 times a year. It's not the same. It's not like.
It has this like miniature porno size. Remember back when people used to buy pornos? They had.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That were mostly like letters. This is very similar in the size.
Oh, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah. So we have one more package. I'm sure you had
one more package to see what other crap that I bought and off eBay by accident, might I add.
By accident. This one is, by the way, far more robust. This has been wrapped meticulously in cardboard.
So it must be priceless. It's like a priceless artifact.
I mean, who knows
baseball
what's in here?
Memorabilia history.
I mean, the cure for cancer could be in this thing. I mean, who knows?
Or even better, some baseball memorabilia.
Even better than the cure for cancer, it is. Hang on. Do you have a drum roll sound effect?
Okay, I'll get one. Here we go. Okay, hit me. What remind me?
This is a 1984.
Oh yes.
National Lampoon magazine.
That's right.
With some ads for Cools on the back. Cool.
Yeah, when cigarette tobacco ads were still, and on the cover.
This is Pete Rose on the cover. He appears to be in what looks like Shea Stadium.
But what uniform is he wearing?
And he's wearing a Montreal Expos jersey, and it says he's got a walker, or as British people call it, a Zimmer frame.
Yeah.
And because Pete Rose was an old man by the time he came to the Expos, was he not? What was he, like 37 or something?
And I was at the opening game in 1984 of when he hit base hit number 4,000.
Right.
And I remember
At
skipping
Olympic
school.
Stadium.
I was at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and I skipped school. And I convinced a whole bunch of other people in my school that we have to skip school to see if Pete Rose gets, basically number 4,000 at the home opener. And he did. And the next day I went back to school, and the principal took me aside and he said, Erik, I heard that you were at school yesterday. I said, oh yeah, dentist appointment. And he goes, look, I won't give you detention because you'll never in your lifetime ever see somebody hit 4,000 hits again. I'm not an idiot.
Wow.
So I'll let this one go. So luckily, I had a
Well,
principal who was a
he's
baseball fan. So
a smart guy because nobody's done it.
and nobody ever
Right?
will.
I mean, Ichiro, how many hits did Ichiro have combined?
When combined with Japan, I forget now. We'll have to look it up. I'll put it on the screen right now because I'm too lazy to look it up.
So this says Pete Rose hustles after Ty Cobb's record as an old man with his gut protruding over his waist.
So that, and National Lampoon was a magazine that doesn't exist anymore, but was also a staple of my teenage years, where you had to like company that gave you vacation, European Vacation, and all the albums. So there you go. So there's 3.
So where am I going to put this shit now that I have it? Where do I put it?
Okay,
well, I guess I got to find a place for it.
Okay, well, luckily it's not as big as other stuff that I've purchased in the past. So I'll come over to Montreal, and then I'll zoom down to New York.
Yeah,
a month or 2.
Yeah, like you did last time when you didn't come to New York after you went to Montreal.
Well,
don't worry, Erik. I'll bring it over next time. It's fine.
Okay.
I will illegally bring your non-customs duty paid for memorabilia over for you.
Thank you.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
It cost me $1.
So how much each one of these was $1? Or
I can't remember, but it was something ridiculously cheap because that's the trick. And here's my trick to you people: if you go on eBay, go, I can't afford that. But if it says or other offer, or you can actually offer something, then this suggests a price. Sometimes it'll say $15 minimum, or you just put whatever offer. And then he's like, oh my God, I can't believe I got that for $2 or $1 or whatever. Moving on. I think that's it. I think that our rogue episode is now done. And just to keep you people abreast, guffaw, we are planning, Jonny and Josh, and hopefully David, and hopefully me, to have another episode before the regular season ends. But the regular season ends a week Sunday. So we'll figure out, keep your eye on Twitter, at Jonny and Josh. Go to our YouTube channel, at Jonny and Josh, link whatever below, and then we'll let you know. We're not done yet with the season.
Playoff preview? Will that be
playoff preview of some sort? Yeah, I think so. And then we'll do a World Series review, preview. Who knows? Whatever time will tell. We'll try to make 4 people in 4 different time zones meet up, even though Johnny's the same time zone.
Magically,
he might be in another time zone.
Well, I hope there was something to listen to on this podcast. We didn't get a lot into the nitty gritty, but I guess that's okay, right? There's going to be plenty of time for nitty gritty.
Correct, and that's what we need Jonny and Josh for their wonderful insight and banter.
Did you hear my dog?
No, I did not.
Oh, good, man. These noise-canceling headphones are great.
Okay.
Fantastic. I'm glad you didn't hear my dog, and I'm glad to have spent this time with you.
Yes,
and
too long.
And unraveled this mystery as to what is inside the mystery packages.
Yes. Yes, Baseball Digests, National Lampoons, and Spider-Man.
And the Amazing Spider-Man.
Fighting crime with the Montreal Expos. Come on, that's a cool thing.
I would love to know what kind of crime. We'd have to open this up,
you'll have to read it with your children.
You should review this on one of your book reviews, Erik.
The Amazing Spider-Man Fights Crime with the Montreal Expos baseball book of the week. Yeah. So I'll love and leave you. I'll say goodnight to you, and we'll hang out again sometime.
Okay, I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.